Welcome to the Business Vitality Podcast. My name is Catherine Cantey. I am the host and an executive coach. I work with teams, individuals, and leaders to help create measured leadership change. We do that using practical applications, and our clients are creating 100% measured results as seen by those around them. Not necessarily what I think or what they think, but what the other people are seeing. And they are being recognized for the hard work that they're doing. If you're interested in learning more about some of the work that we're doing, you can learn more at catherinecantey.com. I would love for you to subscribe to this show, to Business Vitality. This is my way to continue to pay it forward and share business best practices. Stay tuned and listen to the interview. Thanks for being here. April Larson, you are the co-founder of Pathology Watch, found on the web at pathologywatch.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Thank you. It's actually Dr. April Larson, and I really appreciate you being here. I would love for you just to kind of explain at a high level a little bit about Pathology Watch and what they do.
I would love to. So Pathology Watch is very novel in a lot of ways. It is about showing and bringing digital pathology to dermatologists. And this is unique in a couple of ways. Digital pathology is relatively new in the specialty because it revolves around glass slides. And so it's not starting out with a digital image like x-rays or other things. And so it actually has to be converted to a digital image. But then we're able to do with it what we're able to do with radiology, and that is share this information broadly through connections, integrations, and this sort of thing, so we can share this information so much more easily. Before pathologists had to get on a 10-headed microscope to all look at the cases together and be able to get the specialty and then the expertise of different pathologists, and now we're able to share those cases very easily worldwide. So that's one way that we use digital pathology. The other part that's unique about our company is that we're probably one of the only if not the only pathology company that actually has the customer as the end clinician, the clinician who is actually interacting with the patient. And so in dermatology, we actually train looking at both the skin images and also the pathology images of the biopsies or the pieces of skin we take to understand what their disease process is. And so dermatologists specifically really love to look at their pathology slides. And so instead of just marketing to hospitals or labs or other pathologists, we actually bring these offerings to the dermatology clinic along with other benefits of electronic record integration. And so it's really an exciting thing that we can actually integrate to the customer. And that's where I come in Pathology Watch, because I'm a dermatologist by training. I've been a clinical dermatologist for almost 20 years. And so I'm able to provide that customer experience and expertise to help the company grow.
I love that. And so we were talking about this before, but for 20 years, I got to work with large corporations and get to see all different sizes of businesses because I was in the banking world, and banking tends to open up doors and we see all kinds of opportunities. And what you're saying is you saw a need in the market, and just because dermatology has always been done a certain way, and I feel like this is safe for a lot of businesses, just because we've always done things a certain way doesn't mean we need to keep doing it that way. And it sounds like you found something that maybe wasn't working for you, and you took a risk or saw an opportunity. Do you mind just kind of talking about, okay, you see the opportunity, you've been doing this for a while. How do you even begin to test ideas, or how do you begin to just explore conversations? Because everybody at some point in their career hits that, okay, we've always done it this way, but I think there's a better way to do this. So do you mind kind of talking through what that was like for you? Because it sounds like you've been in this business for 2 decades. And what is that like to kind of disrupt it a little bit and challenge the way things have always been done?
I love talking about that because that is really important to me. When I was in medical school, I had a wonderful mentor whose name was Cantey Leachman, and she is a physician scientist and MD PhD, and she introduced me to bench research. And it was from her that I learned this kind of love of, not being afraid of technology and, looking for those solutions and searching for those, better solutions for patients to bring them, better care. And so I just got that from her that, I'm not afraid of technology or what it can do. Sometimes, physicians are worried that technology could replace their job, and so they can be somewhat resistant to new ideas and doing things a new way. And for me, that's just part of what we want to do for patients. At the end of the game, that's who our consumer is in the healthcare world, is the patient. And so when you really care about your patients, you want to, kind of push out and just improve things as much as you can for those patients.
I love that. I feel like we all have that mentor early in our careers that really set the foundation. I know I had one that I still reach out to, and we've had a relationship for probably 30 years, 25, 30 years. And, he's just there and he's a wonderful resource. But if it wasn't for him really challenging the way I thought and sponsoring for me, behind the closed doors as conversations were taking place, I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have half the opportunities. So sounds like you found a great mentor. And have you had others along the way that have kind of helped you think about things in new ways?
Absolutely. And actually, I did invite Sancy to be on our clinical advisory board, which is awesome. So I do get a chance to have reason to reach out to her and call her frequently. In my current position, I've had wonderful mentors in business, and this was just a whole different side of things. So in residency, in dermatology residency and training, I had a wonderful mentor, Shane Chapman, who also serves on my board. And he got an MBA at MIT while I was there and in my training. And so he's also helped me kind of think outside and be interested in, getting involved in the business world and the business of healthcare. And also they encourage us in our national association to be involved, because we know what we need, and if we're able to get out there and participate, then we're able to just contribute more to how things are developed. And so that's really why I ended up here. So my co-founder Greg Osmond is a dermatopathologist, and so he actually lives in the same city as me, and he had moved here, and we both are very academically minded, even though we're in private practice. And so it was through those conversations that I became involved in this, and just thought it was such an exciting idea, and wanted to help bring this to other people. So I used it in my practice first, and then started talking to others about it. And so, those business partners of mine have been such great mentors, just bringing me into this new world, combining healthcare and an industry, which is super exciting.
I think that allows you to really take the business even to a further level, because it's not just coming in and practicing the medicine, but when you overlay the business in with that medical piece, I feel like when you combine the two, you're going to get more than, 1 and 1 is more than going to be 2. It's going to be, 4 and 5 is going to be the end result, because you're really creating a compound impact of bringing these different mindsets together. Do you actively seek out different mindsets along the way, or have you, I guess, where's the mindset fall in with all of this and the growth and opportunities that you're seeing? Because I feel like we're hearing more and more about mindsets in today's world.
Yeah, I have 2 thoughts about that. And like I mentioned, one way we do, kind of gather different minds is just with our co-founders. I think that's one thing that, Greg Osmond and Dan Lambert is our CEO and Greg is the CMO, started talking together and deciding like, hey, this is what else we need. And I think looking for those people where, your strengths, and looking for those people that have experience in the things that you don't, and you make such a stronger team that way. And so Dan has background in machine learning, and he's a software engineer, in addition to being a really successful CEO. And Greg has been, involved in different business ventures, as well as being a physician. And then Michael Torno is the third co-founder, who is, so excellent at business development. And I think that getting us all in the same room, being able to talk together about these ideas, just really, like you say, 1 + 1 = 3. There's so much synergy, and we can bring up things to each other, and then that sparks something, an idea with somebody else, and then we can kind of pursue that together. And so that's been so fun about this collaboration. And I think one reason why, I love clinical practice. I love my patients, but I couldn't, that first love of academic medicine, made this really an exciting opportunity for me to, think, like you said, outside of what we have now, but what things could be. And that's a lot of what also drives the business, is having this vision of where we want to get. A lot of times think about it in the Netflix terms. Netflix started out as DVDs. The rest of us were like, oh, that sounds good, but they knew where they were headed. And having that name Netflix, they knew. And so, that's been a really good example to me as we've moved forward. We know where we want to get, and so we're starting out with that vision that kind of pushes us forward.
I'm excited for you. And earlier you mentioned about the customer experience and how that's really near and dear to your heart. I would love for you just to be able to talk about that. You shared a little bit that you have a great love for people and you learn from people, and you're able to apply that. So do you mind talking about the customer experience? Because I think we have all been in doctor's offices and we all have different experiences of what it's like to be checked in and fill out the paperwork or the online tablet or whatever it is that we need to do. So I would love to hear what it's been like for you from someone else's perspective who's not the patient, and how do you take these learnings and be able to apply it to your customer base? So
that's a great question.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, so that's one reason why I did get involved, because I saw, what this could do for me and my practice, making things, more, information more easily shared. If I'm able to see the image of the biopsy, I can ask better questions of my consultant pathologist. And also it saves a large amount of time. So a lot of us in doctor's offices, as you know, we're still faxing. Like, who has a fax? Nobody, except for doctors, and so now we're using, as we're kind of all starting to use electronic medical records, now we can more easily integrate and share this information so easily. And so that's what I experienced. Is it took me a long time to get my report, and by the time they scanned it in and whatever, it'd be a couple of weeks sometimes before the patient would hear from me, even if the pathologist read it out quickly. And so this would allow me to have results back in my EMR. I could see it. It alerted me when it came back, and I could call back patients in 2 days, and so I just saw how this helped me in my practice, and I wanted to be able to, share that with other customers. And the other thing that I thought about is really, Michael has been my mentor in this business. And one of the things that he has taught me is receive the gift of feedback. And so it's been great. We have these clinicians who are rooting for us, and it's something where, we make mistakes or we're not perfect. MVP means a very different thing in business, right? Minimal viable product. And so, that was a new experience to me too, because in healthcare, it's like, you're at 100%, you don't roll something out that's like not ready. And in business, you're really trying to get there, because you can do so much learning. If you can get the product out into clinical practice, then you can actually see how it's working and improve it. And so we have these clinicians who, sometimes we have a little bit of a bumpy road or something happens, and they've been so great. We go to them and say, one of our new COO says, we know you like us, but how can we get you to love us? What do we need to do? And so the customers are so willing to share with us, hey, this is what would be helpful. This is what I need. This is what my patient would like. And that allows us to just, again, elevate the product and get where we want to go. So
it sounds like you're really redefining what that experience is like for customers or for patients that are coming in, because you're actually asking for their feedback on, or asking the other physicians for their feedback on how's this process working, and going from, if I remember correctly, the glass slides to the digital slides, and being able to become so much more efficient in a doctor's office, because not that long ago, it was a sea of paper when you walked in that place. And, you hope that your sample didn't get, shuffled in the wrong stack or anything. And so to be able to have this access and to be able to digitally be able to, you have great videos on your website of being able to show how you can really blow up some of these details and be able to look at it and compare and be able to share it with multiple people at the same time. It's fantastic how you're taking the feedback that's happening real time, and you're able to come back and be able to make those changes. And it sounds like it's a bit challenging from a physician standpoint of doing an MVP or a minimal viable product. But then you've got diversity of mindset within your group, within your founders group, with Michael, who's like received this gift of feedback, which truly, that is like gold to get this information from people who are using your products, because you can just cut to the chase and like get what you need to hear and their terminology. So you can just move that much faster in the market. So congratulations on really bridging all of that and embracing all of these different ideas together from a wealth of resources. It sounds like it sounds fantastic.
It's fun too, because they come up with different ways of using it. I didn't think of this really in my experience, but they started sharing the images with patients, and patients are getting very sophisticated, and they're asking lots of really good questions. And so, the more that we can share, it's kind of like how patients will send around their x-rays, now they have their CT scans and they'll share these. And that's what's starting to happen with pathology, where, the doctor can pull up their actual pathology, show them, this is the tumor, here it is at the edge, this is why I need to go back and do a procedure. And it just increases that trust with the patient. They can actually see, what's happening, and see and what's happening in their own body, and they really love it. And so the clinicians say, we get really good feedback, and the patients really love this, and that kind of encourages us more to, share this information.
Yeah. And then, you also shared, or I saw on your website, you talked about obviously the efficiency, which you've talked about the amazing efficiencies that you've been able to gain, the quicker turnaround time. But then you also talked on your website a little bit about reducing the staff burnout. And so we've got to keep everybody happy at the office and the staff, because that's what keeps the engine running, day to day. They're the face of the business, meeting and greeting and taking care of everybody. So talk about how it kind of reduces some staff burnout, because I think it is a fantastic benefit to what you guys are doing.
This is so key in a lot of ways. In medicine, we have assistants, who kind of like put it in front of us and, know how to get us the information, but they have on their end so much burden with, like I mentioned, all these different papers, faxing it, putting it in front of you. And so sometimes it may not speed me up necessarily, but my staff loves it. And it was fun when I kind of presented it to one of the offices, and I got to sit down with the staff and kind of go through with them. Okay, this is how we use it. This is how it pulls up. This is how it will be, easy for you to use. And they just love it and can save hours. And I think this becomes more and more important with COVID. We've seen, all of a sudden, where is everybody? We don't have as many workers, or people are out sick or whatever. And so it becomes more and more important to have systems that are easy, consistent, that you can kind of keep up with, and so it really does kind of decrease those hours that the staff are working, and you may need less staff, because you have these things in place, or helps your staff not have to be burdened with the busy work, allows them to interact more with patients and other things that they enjoy.
Yeah, and I feel like, obviously the job market is really tough right now, and trying to find the talent that can come back in, or you have just these natural retirements that are taking place, and we can't quite replace everybody like we used to, because the talent we're not real sure where it's going, but it's not there like it used to be. So it's creating an opportunity, and it sounds like you're able to help solve for what is a challenge of, we got to make it a little bit easier for everybody at the office, and that means there's got to be a little bit of change. But to be able to do that, and to be able to offer that quicker turnaround, and just like you said, to have that human connection and let that continue to lead that customer experience, versus them having to be in the back room trying to get through the papers or find the report. And it used to take weeks, but now it can just take a few days. That's a game changer for a team that are working together to be able to serve the patients and the customers. So I think that's fantastic. I also saw, whenever I saw this on your website talking about client onboarding, and whenever, somebody tries a new service, gosh knows, changing bank accounts, that was hard enough. And so I would go out and work with teams of people to convince them that it's okay to move bank accounts. And it is super hard, because you think about everything that's tied into your banking solution that you have within a business. And I can only imagine it is probably just as challenging, or even harder, when it comes to medical software and the research that's available, that's tied in to the indexing, to the file, to the retention, to everything you've got to build out the support. So transitioning into something new is really hard, and the client onboarding is something that you're really promoting and creating education around. Do you mind talking a little bit about that and how maybe some things you've learned from it and maybe how it's a little bit smoother than maybe what somebody might assume as they kind of dip their toe in and look at this?
Yeah, so dermatologists tend to be really, really busy in the office. Compared to any other specialty, they're seeing several patients an hour because they can focus on the skin. So you go into an internist office and, your new patient appointment is an hour, or a half hour, where in dermatology, you're talking about 5, 10, 15 minutes, with a patient. And so when you're seeing so many patients and very busy, anything that disrupts your typical process, you just can't handle it. It's like even though, just like you're saying with the banking, it's like, I know that this isn't efficient, but I don't have the time to, take this new system and try to implement it. And so that was really one of the things I tried to, bring as kind of the customer, to say, this is how, we need to make it that easy for them to just roll it in, that they don't have to do anything, that we can walk in, we can teach their staff how to use it so they almost don't feel it and they really just receive the benefits. And so that's been another thing, providing this, easy implementation. And then also, we found, because we have such effective, software engineers, a lot of times we had these pieces that we would use that we were kind of pushing together, and we found, what, we can make it better. And so we've taken these different pieces that needed to be and kind of made this end-to-end solution, because again, the doctor just wants to hand off the, I call it the magic coffee table. If you've seen that video, when we, as a dermatologist, I know this right now, I know all of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, but as a dermatologist, I drop off my bottle and I get back a report, it spits me back a report. And so, that was the ease that we needed to, create for the doctor, so they can continue to do what they do, but benefit from the efficiencies.
I think it's fantastic. As we kind of wrap up, I want to ask you, is there anything else that we need to be aware of when it comes to Pathology Watch and some of the work that you're doing now? Any best practices, things you've learned, maybe some questions I might have missed that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would just say, one of the exciting things about digital pathology is that because you have this digital image, now you can apply other things like artificial intelligence and machine learning. And that's the, thing that we're most excited about. So that kind of Netflix idea of where they were headed, that's where we're headed. And so, we're doing a lot of development into creating, AI that basically can screen the pathology slide ahead of time, spit out the report so that the doctor, again, doesn't like to get bogged down in the details, they just want to have it there. And then they can do their expertise, perform their expertise, which is looking at it, confirming that that's a result. And with those easier types, we can kind of get that streamlined. And then as we, push out, our knowledge, we can spend more time on these more difficult cases that need more time and attention. And so that's the really exciting part of it is, this AI that's coming to healthcare, and I think that, again, that was one reason why I got involved. So much of us are used to iPhones and iPads, and it's so easy for us to get around. And we really didn't have that until a few years ago in healthcare. We had these tools that were kind of clunky and, didn't really help. And so that was, again, one reason why I want to be a part of Pathology Watch. It just really helps in healthcare, which is such a critical thing to all of us, where we, like you said, we want to see things streamlined. We want our reports to be easy to get the information we need, our doctors to be able to communicate with each other. And I'm starting to see this come to healthcare and to my specialty, to dermatology. And so I'm just thrilled. And again, just lucky to be with the people that I'm with who, really show me the way and teach me how to do this in a business world. So thank you so much for having me.
I think this is fantastic. I love your customer experience. I love the diversity of thought of who you've surrounded yourself with. I love the fact that you've had a mentor that just named it at the beginning. It's okay to embrace technology, and I know I've been exposed to machine learning and AI, and it really can streamline things. There are benefits to that, and it really does allow you to have more freedom and flexibility to be able to dig into the more complex, or just to allow you to have more face time with the customer, which is, that's what's the most important thing, I think, is just to be able to have a quality conversation with someone else. And you can do that because you can gain some efficiencies. And yes, it's a little scary to create change, but that's what got us here. And I think just like what you're saying, talking about what's down the road, it's just going to open up more doors and opportunities for growth. So congratulations on your work and your team that you've put together. And if someone wants to learn more, April, what is the best way for them to keep learning about you and Pathology Watch?
So we are at pathologywatch.com, and we're a very social team. So you can always reach out to me. My email is april@pathologywatch.com, and I love all things dermatology and pathology lab type things. So reach out to me. I would love that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Dr. April Larson, you are the co-founder of Pathology Watch, found on the web at pathologywatch.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you like it, please subscribe, share this episode or this show with other people around you. The greatest form of a compliment is a referral. I really appreciate them. And if you think that you want to learn more about some of the work we're doing, I encourage you to reach out to CatherineCantey.com. You can schedule a call or just continue to read articles and information that we post out there. Thank you so much for being here.